Alright, welcome back to another PD2 video here for Season 9. This video is a starter guide for playing Paladin two-handed on ladder. So this season just started on Friday. It is now Saturday afternoon. I made a previous video about the changes to the next hit always misses bug being fixed and how it affects all melee classes a lot. So this season I decided to go two-handed physical charge as a starter build out the gate. So no Fist of the Heavens, no Holy Bolt starter, no Holy Fire, this and that. I haven't used a respec token. I've never done this before. I always do that. And I was pleasantly surprised. So I'll go over what I used and what I'm running right now. So currently I'm level 79. For the most part, I have done everything myself. You know, I've gotten waypoints from people and skipped parts that take a little bit of time, and I've done bail runs, some chaos runs. But for the most part, I'm doing the most damage in most of these groups and sort of carrying. You are kind of squishy until you get your resistances up, and there are some early game things you need to get before you can start charging properly. The main thing is that charge costs a lot of mana when you're low levels. It's 9 mana at all ranks. And when you're low levels, you've only got like 40 mana. And so you can charge like 3 times and then you're out of mana. And they've changed it so that when you're out of mana and you're using charge, you just won't do anything. You used to do like a regular auto attack when you ran out of mana, but you don't do that anymore, which is nice, I guess. Maybe it was to fix the bug, but it's kind of annoying when you're low level. So I'll go over what you should skill up first. Okay, so you're level 1. The first few levels, you're not really getting anything. The first thing you're going to max is charge. Charge is the highest return on value for maxing anything in this build. But level 1, you start putting your points into might. So level 1, get might. Level 2, grab 1 in prayer. And then, level 3, you get 1 in smite. And then after that, when you're leveling up, just put a point in might every time you can until you unlock charge. So as soon as you unlock charge, you can start putting points into it, and that's what I recommend. However, you can't really use charge unless you're just chugging mana pots, which is kind of hard to do early game when you don't have any gear. So you're not actually going to be using charge right away, and that's fine because normal Act 1 through 5, you can get away with just attacking stuff. It's super easy. So, but the first thing we're maxing is charge, and then keep an eye on your skills as you're going, because we do want Vigor quite early in the game, because Vigor for groups, when you're doing tome runs or any group content, throwing Vigor on is going to help everyone out because their stamina is not going to drain. Early game, you're going to be drinking stamina potions, and it's kind of annoying. Once you get Vigor, you can toggle this on, and your stamina bar just goes to full. It's really useful. And because might, the scaling on enhanced damage doesn't really scale well at low levels because it's a percentage increase. So if your weapon's doing 10 damage and you've got a 100% increase, you're doing 20 damage. So it's really not that effective low levels. So using Vigor actually is just what I did. Helped me run around quicker, and the idea is you're trying to get through the content as quickly as you can. So Vigor is a good one to have. Anyways, charge, okay, we're maxing this, and then we're maxing Vigor and might. You can choose to max Vigor over might if you want. If you're using Vigor for more of the time, that's fine. And you want to get 1 point in Holy Sword as soon as you can at level 16. Or no, at level 24 or 18? I can't remember. Can't remember how these go. I think it's 1, 6, 8, 12. I'm not sure. But anyways, 1 point in Holy Sword. 1 point's enough early game because you get the very long duration of 300 seconds out the bat. And the parry chance is kind of slow scaling. You get like 2 or 3% per level. And you're not going to start noticing a big difference with Holy Sword until you're around like 30 to 40% parry chance. And I recommend stopping leveling Holy Sword at 14. 14 levels is when you start getting diminishing returns, in the sense that every level you're getting nothing. It's every other level you get a little bit of a bonus to your parry chance. The damage to demons undead is really not relevant here in this build. Or sorry, in this ability. It's a little extra flavor, and it's not a bad thing to have. But the main purpose of Holy Sword is to get the parry chance. So that stops going up past level 14 very often, and it kind of caps out around, I think, 48% anyways. So 14's enough. So first 60 points are going into charge, might, and vigor, right? And then after that you're gonna put 14 points into Holy Sword, and then after that I recommend getting down to Joust. You could go down to Joust earlier if you wanted. I didn't until I got to Hell, and I found that it didn't really impede me at all. Sometimes you want to use Joust to jump over ledges and walls to skip stuff. River of Flames is a classic example, or Arcane Sanctuary. So Joust is good to have, but it's not mandatory. You're not using it very much. And 4-point investment when you're trying to get your synergies up is a lot. So I kind of did that second last. And then finally, with your leftover points from level 70 onwards, I suppose I'm putting the rest in Blessed Aim, and that's simply to get the passive reduces target's defense by 2% per base level. Okay, so this is really useful because attack rating is really important with this build. Most of the weapons we're using, in fact, I don't think any of them ignores target defense. So you really need to get your dexterity up, or you need items with attack rating. Blessed Aim passive helps a ton. And that'll segue into our Mercenary. So we're using the Combat Act 2 Merc, and I always go with Emilio because I just like his name. Emilio's my boy. And he's combat. He's going to have the aura that we want, which is Blessed Aim. So when the Blessed Aim aura is actively on, it gives you Deadly Strike, which is crit chance, and it also gives you a buttload of attack rating. So these two things are super good for us and hard to get. Deadly Strike is kind of the late game gearing direction we want to go, and it's an expensive stat. It's usually on only elite stuff or really high-end jewelry. So getting Deadly Strike's tough. Having Emilio around is pretty good. I think at level 18 he starts using Blessed Aim. It could be lower, but I would pick him up as soon as you can and keep him around. And that's it for the skills. Now, as I level into level 90, I don't know if I will continue to put everything into Blessed Aim. I'll have to make a judgment call based on my attack rating, because having more attack rating doesn't really matter. Once you're at the cap, it's fine. And the way that the calculation here works is I'm 99% sure that this base minus target defense is not incorporated into this calculation. So right now I have a 79% chance to hit, and this negative 9% target defense is going to boost that number up. How much it boosts it up, it's hard to tell, but I believe around the 10 to 20% would be good. So I'll have to look into that more for really min-maxing your gear late game, but for now I'm just putting points into it as I get them. And what I would do next is I'd put some passive points into cleansing for curse duration reduction. So this is a really strong passive, especially for melee builds, because if you get decrepified, Iron Maiden, or amplify damage, you're going to take a lot of damage and you're going to start doing less damage, and that just sucks. So having this passive curse reduction is pretty good. Another one you could potentially do is this meditation, but I wouldn't, because a little bit of mana steal goes a really long way, because we're doing physical damage, so I wouldn't do that. You could, as you're leveling, drop 1 point into each of these, and then eventually salve, and toggle that on when you come across dangerous enemies, but it's 4 points that are pretty much wasted once you have your good gear. You're never going to use them again. And you only start getting the passives every 2 base levels, so you'd have to invest 6 points to get 1% max res in each, which is honestly not worth it. So I avoid that myself, but if you're struggling, you'll be really happy to have lightning resist when you're in the maggot lair and you have to deal with the beetles. That's one area that I struggled with. I did have a scepter that had a couple points to resist lightning, I use that, and that's how I got through it. But otherwise, you will get through it. It's not worth wasting a respec token. Those things are expensive, and you will eventually want to try different builds or tweak things. So having your three Anya's resets for free there, you want to not waste those. So anyways, that's the skills. And for gear, right now I'm level 79. I'm able to do pretty much all the content except maybe bail runs on my own because my resistances are pretty low. That's the hard thing about this build is getting your resists up. You're not using a paladin shield, and typically paladin shields have a lot of all resist on them, so big weakness there. I picked up a Duriel's Shell for pretty cheap, one World Stone Shard. Now this item is extremely good for us because it gives us cannot be frozen, bunch of all resist, and some life and strength. So strength is damage, life is survivability, obviously. But the key thing is here is that this armor has a buttload of all resist and cannot be frozen. So we don't have to worry about getting a Raven Frost or pairing up two items that will have half cold duration, which is something new they've added. So Duriel's Shell, cheap, good, get it. I found this Vamp Gaze and I'm using it because it gives me dual leech and PDR. Obviously, you know this is probably kind of an expensive item, so I wouldn't try to buy one unless it's cheap. You could get a Tal Rasha's helm, which has dual leech, which will be a lot cheaper than a Vamp Gaze. And I've gone ahead and I've only just recently done some crafting, and I've crafted, you know, some stuff for my gloves, my belts, my rings, and I'm really just targeting resistances. So this one's got 2 resistances, this one's got 1, so I'm probably going to do another ring. The belt rolled 2 resistances, that's pretty good. The ring's got all resist with the new craft that uses the diamonds. This was a hell rune and a diamond, so that's pretty good. And yeah, the boots are just some dual res boots I found that are actually pretty damn good, so I'm using those. Charms, again, leveling, just pick up anything that gives you life or mana or damage or resistances. Pretty much all the charms are good, so you'll just cycle through these as you start getting upgrades, but you can see that I've got like kind of mismatched random shit. Really trying to get the resistance charms, as that's what's going to help, and eventually you'll get a torch and a nanny. So that's how that works. For your stat points, all of the two-handed swords require a lot of strength, and you're not going to be getting gear that has a ton of strength on it. This amulet I have is 19 strength, which is really nice, but I don't actually need it to wear my gear. I got it later. So around, you need 185 strength to use a grandfather, and all the other swords you need a little bit less than that. So try to get your strength up to the point to where your weapon that you're using, and you're going to go through phases with your weapons, and I'll get into that next because that's the really important part about this build. And then dexterity too. A lot of these require some pretty high dex, and also dex gives you attack rating, a lot of it. So if I throw 1 point in here, I'm getting like, you know, a lot of attack rating, and that's good. We really want attack rating. And as you're leveling in normal for vitality, you're safe around having, you know, 150, 200 health. That's enough. As soon as you get to nightmare, I'd bump that up to like 300-400 health. And then when you get to hell, I really should have more vitality, but I don't want to put the points in there in case I have to mix things around. But around anything above 500 health is acceptable. You want to hit that 1,000 health point. That's when you're really kind of safe. And 1,500 is like GG for a paladin. So yeah, 100 vit is the kind of the goal when you're in hell, if you can get to it. And yeah, nothing in energy. And your resistances you want to get high. So the ones that really kind of fuck you are the fire and lightning. So a lot of enemies in the game that do lightning, it's a huge range, and you can just get one-shotted, and you'll die a lot, which sucks. And also anything that has like charge bolt on hit, you're going to take a ton of damage. You know, the pit lords spray the fire at you, which is annoying. Things that explode, that are fire enchanted, will do a bunch of damage and just one-shot you randomly. So getting those up is pretty important. Cold resistance, I'd say, is the second most important. just because it's on less things, and cold's usually a lower damage amount than fire or lightning because it does a CC effect on you. And poison's the least important. You can always just carry antidotes with you and cure your poison if you want, or go back to town and talk to Mala or whoever's there to cure you if you get super poisoned. So it's not a big deal. Yeah, and then of course you want might on your left click, not on your right click. If might's on your left click, you'll never get charge bugged because charge bugging only happens when you interact with something during a charge. So if you're charging with left click and you accidentally click a chest, you'll get put in that little stasis where you have to switch weapons to get out of it. So let's put might on our right click. I also have vigor and defiance kind of bound. Sometimes I want to throw defiance on if I'm getting wrecked, or vigor if I'm moving around is really useful. On the right click, we're primarily using charge. We want to be able to use holy sword so we can buff ourselves, and then the only other thing that really matters is joust. So joust, you want to have hotkeyed to something so that you can quickly telly to get out when you get surrounded, and also telly to skip stuff. I also have zeal here, but I've never used it. It's just habit. I always have it on D. That's pretty much how that goes. I'll show you which weapons I used in my leveling process. So let me just go ahead and we'll go look at Charcy, because in normal, right? Oh, is my game bug? Am I disconnected? Nope, I'm good. One sec here. Let's talk to Charcy.
Good day.
There we go. Now she'll talk to us. So, yeah, basically you want to try and just buy a two-handed sword when you're in Act 1. I'm gonna just quickly make some space here, and I'm gonna buy this thing. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna go to normal because that's more representative of what's happening. Here we are, normal. So in Act 1, you're gonna want like a long sword right when you start playing. As soon as you can get one of these two-handed swords, that's great. You don't really need to look for anything on them. If you can get mana after each kill, that's a good one, or mana steal. That's good too. But let me take might off. And of course, I've got full synergies with charge. None of my gear is giving me enhanced damage, right? Let me just throw on this two-handed sword. Okay, so 8 to 17 damage, whatever. Basic sword. So in normal, your charge damage will be doing, a little bit less than this because I have full synergies, but not much. Not much less. You'll be doing around, I was doing like 150 to 300 damage with my charge. And that was enough for me to pretty much one-shot everything in normal, which was crazy. And by the time I finished normal, I was level 42. I did bail runs till 42 so that I could wear this. So this is a exceptional two-handed sword. I looked on the trade site for about, I don't know, a minute, and I just looked up all of the different exceptional two-handed swords to see what was up there. It was day one, right? So there wasn't very many. But this one, any of them, literally any of the two-handed unique swords are going to be a huge damage upgrade. So you can see the damage difference. So 119 to 200 versus 8 to 20. So it's 5 to 10 times more damage, right? So the mods on this doesn't really matter at all. I mean, this one has PDR, which is cool, but it's literally just the damage. You're just looking at the damage amount. Cool. So just try to buy anything, and 10 perfect skulls or 10 perfect gems or 5 perfect gems, 1 world stone shard. You should be able to get that at least in your leveling process, unless you're really unlucky, or maybe a hell rune or something, and buy one of these. And let's look at the damage difference. So when you're normal, you'll be doing, let's say, 250 damage, right? You throw this on, you're doing, I mean, I was doing this much damage in Nightmare, and this was just obliterating everything. Nothing stood a chance. Everything got one-shotted. Bosses fell over. I was carrying the Nightmare bail runs. Huge damage. And yeah, I used this up until I could use this, and so I bought this with 4 world stone shards and 1 lem rune. I bought the Leorix for. I probably got ripped off, but you know it was the first day, and I just wanted an upgrade, and this is a huge upgrade. It's literally again tripling our damage. So throw this on, and we're doing 5 to 9k damage, and that's a really good place to be in not only Nightmare, but in Hell. You see the damage difference there. So it's a very cheap build, and I used just random Charcy shit for the rest of my gear that I bought. I didn't make any rune words. You could make a stealth, you could make a smoke rune word. That's what my Merc's using. I just made this for him. Nephilim, super easy. You get a bunch of all res. My gear kind of looked like this. I was wearing just nonsense. But the one item that enabled me to play the build that I was very lucky to get was a mantled heal ring. So the huge issue you're going to run into when you're trying to do this is you run out of mana. So mantled healed makes it so you're basically always full mana. And these things are basically free. So on the trade site, you can grab these for 1 world stone shard. Or just go to a free game now. Or just ask someone. Someone will give you them. If you can get 1 or 2, that's great. You'll be able to play the game. Now, if you can't find a mantled heal, pick up rings, because really you just need mana steal. This regenerate mana is great too, and the life's nice, but the mana steal is all you need. It is high mana steal for an item. A normal rare or normal magic ring is maybe going to have 4 or 5 mana steal. That's fine. Just grab a couple of those, and you will be absolutely fine. You won't have any mana issues, and you'll be able to play the game. So that's the gearing progression, and it's really awesome because all you have to worry about is your weapon until you get to Hell. And then once you get to Hell, you start running into problems where you don't have any magic resist. Or sorry, you don't have any resistances. So, whoops, that's normal stuff. So you can see my resistances in Hell are pretty bad. Let me take off this gear I just crafted. So I was basically like this. And I've got Anya quest done for all 3 acts. But yeah, basically I have no resistance to anything. So I was getting pretty murked by things that do magic damage, but you can still do it because you're basically one-tapping everything and they die. You're also putting things into hit recovery. If you're fighting something that doesn't die in 1 hit, you are knocking it back every time you hit it, so it can't do anything. And they won't cast things. Like I did my own Trav in Hell with no resistances, and I didn't die, but it took a little bit. You just kind of have to single one out and charge it, and then once you start charging it, it doesn't do anything, and you've got a little bit of life steal. You're going to be healing a ton. So yeah, that's really the only issue with this. So enough monkeying around. I'm just going to quickly jump into places you'll farm. Like, okay, everyone knows the obvious places. So this is in Hell. Pretty strong, right? Like, I'm just mowing things down. I don't have to do anything. I just right click. It's a good time. Occasionally I'll click a rejuve, and that's kind of it. With the Leorix, I'm spawning these minions, which does help a bit, but it's not really necessary at all. So you can farm this. This is a really easy farm to do. You can do it without any resistances. You can also farm the pit, which is what I've been doing for the last 20 minutes here. Now the pit has a super chest at the end of it. That's why I like to farm it, because super chests can give you high runes. And that would be really lucky if I just found like a burr rune or something early on. It would just propel me so much further. So any farm that has super chests in it, I'm going to be more interested in. The density in these areas that are not maps is always going to suck. It doesn't matter where you are unless you're in public game. But then in public games you don't get the drops because it's free for all. So I try not to farm in public games ever. I just use them to level, and that's it. I get out of them as soon as I can. But yeah, the pit is great. There's like nothing in here that's... Also, I should say that you're doing physical damage, so very few things in the game are immune to physical. occasionally I'll run across a unique that has like stone skin and it's immune to physical. You just skip it, but it's happened like 3 times since I got to hell. So who cares? So yeah, like it's very strong and it's very fast because you charge to move. So you see, like, I'm just flying through here. Sometimes the game even lags because I get there before it thinks I'm there. There's a nice little port room. I'll grab these because I'm doing some crafting right now. And yeah, so just go through the pit. I wouldn't try to full clear the pit or anything like that. There's no point because the density's low. You're really just trying to find the underground place. Actually, I kind of want that amulet for crafting, so I'll pick that up. And yeah, so like, you know, I'm going to hit stuff if it's easy. I'm not going to go out of my way to kill everything because it's just a waste of time. Once you get down here, there's usually a unique and a champion pack. Sometimes there's a 3rd pack, which is nice. I will try to like kill everything down here. You know, it's probably not worth it. You'll see that I am missing a lot, and that's because my attack rating is not very high. So as soon as I get to 100% hit chance, things will die even quicker. Here's that what I was talking about with super chest. You know, that's a lot of loot out of one chest. So it's also great when you're trying to craft stuff because you need to get magic stuff to craft. I'm not going to touch any of the rest of that. Then we'll come over here, kill this guy. Usually there's a little pack of guys here too. And yeah, that was, I mean, pretty standard pit run. Grab this ruby. I'll show you guys River Flame. So as you progress through the axe, things have more health. The River of Flame is pretty tanky, but it's still totally doable. Considering I'm in just complete dumpster gear that I got all basically for free, single self-found, and I've played maybe 8 hours total. So yeah, this champion guys have a lot of health. My resistances are low, so you know, I could take fatal damage at some point. There's a unique flail. I have a little bit of crushing blow, which kind of helps. The deadly strike, I only have like 12. I want Emilio to come here, so I'm just gonna use joust. Start taking damage. Grab that ring because I'm crafting. I don't think that flail can be good. I need to update this loot filter. It's not ideal. Like Grand Charm should show up a lot more than what they do. Like this filter, it's kind of lame. But yeah, I'm gonna do some shit with my inventory. I don't want to waste your time on the video with that, but you can see that it's a powerful build, and the next things I'll be trying to get are a grandfather. So I'm going to skip everything else and just try to get a regular grandfather. They're going for Malrune right now. I need to find like 5 more World Stone shards, and I'll grab one. That'll make my damage go up another echelon. And then after that, I'm basically going to try to target some specific gear that gives me lots of resistance. So maybe the Natalia's boots. I'll probably try to get a Griswold's helm, has a lot of all resist. I'll try to probably get actually these are pretty good gloves, but I'll try to get something else. Rings. I might try to snag a Ravenfrost if I want to get rid of Duriels. I don't really know what I'm gonna make in my chest. Once I get my resistances set, I'm probably going to want to get something with enhanced damage, so maybe a Crowcaw, or maybe the Paladin Runeword chest, or maybe a Duress. I know that has some enhanced damage on it. I have to figure that out. I'll post another video when I start mapping, if I can get a good mapping build down, and I'll give you guys an update. But yeah, really liking two-handed physical charge right now. It's super strong. and you should play it. So yeah, that's it.